Hello? Everybody still awake? Good. Thank you to Brand Innovators. Thank you to LVMH. It is not lost on me and on us that we are the last thing in your way between some LVMH cocktails. So hopefully we can end on a high note. We can have a very interesting discussion and a very fun discussion. I'll let each of these guys introduce themselves, and then maybe I'll start with introducing the silhouette of Damaune Journey, Global Chief Growth Officer for 72andSunny family of companies, and obviously a partner of the NFL. Damaune and the 72andSunny team focus on delivering strategy, creativity that resonates with the culture and helps grow their clients' audiences and reach those who they are trying to welcome and include. You guys?
Is this on? Can you hear me? Yeah. Good. Okay, great. I am Tim Ellis. Very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting us. I've been with the NFL almost 4 years. I keep saying 3.5, but now it's just about 4. And my background is I came from the Activision, which is a gaming industry, Call of Duty, and some of the other big titles. Learned a lot about sort of bringing young people in. So we were taking people from the NFL at that time, and now I'm back at the NFL taking them back there. So, and it was an incredible experience during that time, really understanding how to sort of move the gaming industry from the basement to mainstream entertainment. And then before that, I was working for some great car brands. Volvo. I lived in Sweden for about 12 years, and I worked also for Volkswagen. You may have known the ad with a little boy who comes through and makes the car come alive at the very end. That's the ad that keeps on giving. It was a tremendous experience, and that's one of the things that I'm most proud of when I was there. But anyway, I love to be at the NFL. We're going to talk a lot about that. It's a tremendous platform. I came to the NFL because I love the game, but also because it does have this incredible platform, and there is such an opportunity to really leverage the influence and be a force for good as well. Jonathan, my friend.
Thanks, Tim. Jonathan Beane. I'm the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at the National Football League. Been there a little bit under 2 years. I've been in this space for quite a while, spent most of my time in media. Worked at, I still call it Time Warner. It's had about 5 iterations since, but that's all good. I've been at 21st Century Fox. I've been at Novartis. And when I had the opportunity to come on board September of 2000, it's been wonderful. It's been a hell of a ride, but as Tim alluded to, the platform is critical. This is a time for us to really make a difference, not only for the sport of football, but for the sports industry and society at large. So we take that very seriously, and hopefully you've seen some of the work we've done, and just know that we'll continue that. So very honored to be here.
Great. I did mention we're the last panel of the day, so we want to keep it, energy up. And I also want to iterate something straight on that is Tim's own words, when he first joined this group, to say, the NFL has a stigma of being cold and businesslike, but the way to change that is to humanize it, to give it a personality, take the helmets off. So let's take the helmets off on you guys really quickly, humanize this panel, first and foremost, with a couple quick fire shots. Favorite team growing up?
Oh, man.
I know now you have to say they're all my favorite team.
This is getting recorded. We're in trouble here. You're supposed to say all 32, but...
I'll go first.
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right. My favorite team is the Las Vegas Raiders. I've been a huge fan since I was 4. So any of you might date myself, but Ted Hendricks, Cliff Branch was my favorite player. He's now a Hall of Famer. Kenny Stabler, Fred Biletnikoff, so that's my team.
Well, I grew up in the Bay Area, so my favorite team is the San Francisco 49ers. One of the first things I got to do when I came to the NFL, we did that big 100 celebration ad. I don't know if any of you saw it, but basically had all these amazing legends and current stars that were in a ballroom with their tuxedos, and they just destroyed the place. with a football game, and I got to warm up Joe Montana during that shoot, which was probably the most exciting thing I think I've ever had a chance to do. Yeah.
Favorite game day food?
You know, my wife's from New Orleans, so we spent a lot of time going to the Saints games, and they've got a jambalaya there that is just amazing. I'm going jambalaya.
Chicken wings all day long with a mix of blue cheese and ranch.
Did you play football growing up? If not, what sport? And if not sports, what hobby?
Yeah, no, I played ball in high school. I was a running back. I was fast, but I kept dropping the damn ball, so I didn't play as much as I wanted.
I did too. I played in high school. I also played in college. I played for Dartmouth College, and I was a much better tennis player, but, you know, I played too.
Great. So it is Pride, obviously. We've been talking about it all day. And, you know, last year around this time, the NFL had a bit of news in Carl Nassib, current player, coming out publicly. You guys, as marketers, both internally and externally, in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, what's your role? What was your response? How do you deal with this? How do you partner with him or not partner and give him a voice? And what's the next step, and how do you help him, like you said in your own words, amplify using one of the loudest megaphones in entertainment and business?
Yeah, at the time we had a full program planned. It was, you know, it was right before June, actually, in the month of Pride. And, you know, I've always believed that, you know, particularly when you have a pretty sizable audience, a big platform, that you have to seize the moment. When that moment comes, you have to really understand it and really seize that moment. And when Carl came out, I mean, it hit me, and I just realized, like, we have got to do something special. Yes, we had a program and so forth, and I could amplify some things on our social networks and so forth. I mean, we have upwards of 100 million people who tune into our owned and operated social networks. But our biggest platform, of course, is our TV audience, because, you know, you'll have upwards of 100, 200 million people at the Super Bowl who will watch our games, and in any given game, 20, 30, 40 million people will watch. So I just immediately thought, well, we've got to do something that's big and bold and really celebrates Carl and gets behind him and celebrate him so others can see that and be influenced. And so I work with 72andSunny, the guy who's not here. I worked with them, and I gave them the brief. We didn't have a lot of time, and they came back with something that was really bold. And it just hit me in the heart. You know, I just loved what I saw. And I know we have it here, so I want, if you all haven't seen it, I do want you to see it. But then we can talk a little bit afterwards about the journey to get it done and then to get it out there and then the reception of it. But it was something that we felt like we've got to do something that is equally as big as the first NFL active player who came out. And, you know, Carl didn't want to be a part of it, but as you can see there, he donated to the Trevor Project. That was an important organization that he worked closely with. We also work with the Trevor Project, and so we decided that the end of that should be driving people toward that site. And quite frankly, they had so many people come in, they had to redo all their IT and everything with the site because they just couldn't handle all the traffic that was going there. But, you know, it's safe to say, and I think you all know this, the NFL has traditionally been somewhat of a conservative organization. And to do something like that, of course, was quite bold. And, you know, there was a lot of discussions, and I can tell you even internally, even those in the marketing team who were really behind it and those across the organization were like, oh my God, can we really say that? Can we really come out and say the first few words out of that ad that, you know, football is gay? And then there was discussion around, well, maybe we should take that part and put it later in the ad. And so, you know, it's an easier way to do that. And I mean, I couldn't even consider that because I knew that was the thing that would get people's attention. I knew it would be I knew it would shock some people. I knew it would be controversial. I knew it would be polarizing. But I also knew that it would be tremendously effective. And I think Jonathan saw it. He was excited. All the folks who I work with closely within our group understood the potential power of it. So we did do it exactly. We put it out exactly as it was presented, as you see right there. And like I said, it was, as it turns out, yes, it was very effective. It was very meaningful for the LGBTQT plus community, but also to our younger audiences and to many important segments. But it was very polarizing as well, right? And I think that we certainly came to terms, and the commissioner backed us on this, that it's okay. It's okay that people are uncomfortable. It's okay that it caused discomfort to a lot of people. The more that we talk about this, the more that we're open, the more welcoming we are. I mean, if you watch that ad, it's a very happy, fun ad, right? It's joyous and exciting. And if some people don't like that, that's okay, right? And I think that the NFL is a powerful organization that has so much influence, and it takes its responsibility very, it's important that we take that seriously. And I certainly, as a CMO of the group, think every day, like, okay, well, what do I need to do my core job to bring people, to watch our games, to engage with our content? But then what can I do to use that platform to actually, make this place make this a better place, right? And we felt like this was an important step.
Yeah, I thought, Rob Smith from, he said a pretty good line earlier about, when you're talking about, as a marketer during Pride, for any inclusivity, you're talking about all windows or no windows. You have to basically advertise in Alabama the same way as you would advertise or market in New York. And I thought to myself, the NFL doesn't have a choice. Anything you do is going to be digested and dissected by everybody in red states, blue states, Alabama, New York, every gender, every, ethnicity, every race. So, back to that point, what was some of the, response here and both negative or positive? And then for those positive response, how do you amplify that?
Well, I'll go through what the response was by our fans. We have 180 million fans who call themselves NFL fans in this country. But I'm going to pass over to Jonathan, because Jonathan works closely, of course, with all the different groups within the NFL and with our owners and with our players. And so when you think about the NFL family, you really can't think of it only as a handful of executives over here on Park Boulevard there. It really is the entire family. We have 32 teams. We have thousands of players. It's by far the biggest league in terms of players. And obviously, we listen to all those folks, and we try to make the best decisions. But
Thanks, Tim. I think something that's really, really important to mention. First, just going about Carl, that was no question one of the happiest days of my career. I mean, that was one of those things that I kind of had a bucket list of things that I had wished, hope occurs during my tenure at the National Football League. And certainly one of them was to ensure that we do have that active outplayer that has evaded us. And why has that evaded us? It's because we haven't done a good enough job of providing the environment where people feel like they can be their authentic self. So for us to be able to move that forward was a really big deal. Also, I think you all know, but when I first saw the video, that caught me a little bit. And it's not often where you see the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer being, wow, that is great. It's bold. And that's the credit to our CMO and our organization, our commissioner, pushing. It's not our words, it's our actions and how we present ourselves. And that's how we should be judged. And that needs to be what we bring to the table. Now, going to the larger thing, this was not reactionary. I want to make that very clear. This is an effort that we're driving to do throughout our whole organization. The clubs, the league office, the C-suite, and how we're connecting with our content, how we're connecting with our fans. There's a larger effort here. And and what Tim is doing and what 72andSunny is doing is amplifying that strategy that we had in place and delivering on that. There will be more of this. We want to make sure that this is an organization that embraces everyone. And I think that this video does such a good job of that. But it's whether we're working with Trevor or whether we're working with GLAD, where I was on the board for 6 years, where they work with us on our content, on our messaging, on our strategy. We're not operating in a bubble. We're operating in a way where we can be better and hopefully lead and not be led.
Yeah, it was exciting the way everyone jumped in and just helped make that ad. And I'm glad you brought that up because, I mean, the biggest strategic tenet that we have at the NFL marketing is that, you know, we need to get the helmets off the players and show them as human beings and not just elite athletes, right? If you look at most of our work, most of the players, I mean, the games, of course, they have their helmets on, but all of our marketing work, the players, their helmets are off. We're talking about things that are deeply personal to them, and we're talking about things that they're interested in. So whether that be a cause, whether that be their view on the Trevor Project, or it could be a video game, anything that we feel like is in accordance to our values and that's something that we think can move us forward, we get behind the players and we work together with them. And that takes trust, that takes credibility, it takes respect. And I think that's one of the things that's been most successful for us. We also respect the fans. I mean, you know, you all know this in this room that while it's only 17% of the country who's identifies as LGBTQ+, a good 30% of those 35 and under do, right? And if you look at Gen Z, 20% identify. So we know it's a big audience, and we know that they need our support. We know that they need us to be vocal, to use our platform, so they do feel welcome. There is a family from Buffalo who saw this ad, who was so taken by what they saw that it literally changed their view on football in general. It changed their view with their son, and that they wanted to actually go out and see a game for the first time in their lives. There's a video here. It's a TikTok video. They call themselves the Rainbow Dads. They have quite a following. And they came out after they saw this, which I thought was a pretty beautiful expression of how it really touched them and how it changed their views on things. So we wanted to play that.
Hey, buddy, you know how Papa loves football in the NFL, right?
Yes.
But you know how Papa and Daddy have never taken you to an NFL game before, right?
Yes.
That's because I never felt comfortable enough taking you to a football game because you have two gay dads.
Well, can we still go?
Well, the NFL just made a video that I want you to look at and I want you to read and have your reaction to it. What do you think?
Yes.
And then you can answer the question if we should go or not.
Football is gay. Football is lesbian. Football is beautiful. Football is clean, life, exciting, power, tough, strong, freedom. Football is American. Football is accepting. Football is everything. Football is for everyone. NFL!
What do you think?
I loved it.
I think it's time to go to a game.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty adorable, right? Yeah. I mean, you see that, and it kind of like, you know, it makes you understand just how strong and how powerful something can be if you do it right, and you have the sort of the courage to sort of move ahead. That family, by the way, did end up going to a game in Buffalo. They were welcomed and hosted by one of our 9 female owners of the NFL. Had a wonderful time, and I accepted an award this year, and they drove in to New York to present it to me, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, I think it's also important to note here that, you know, okay, that's one ad, right? There's lots of things that we're doing, and there's lots of things that we realized the last few years that cannot be just like one-time expressions or once time a year. It has to be year-round, and we understood that internally, and so we, you know, first of all, we ran that campaign throughout the entire year. We used it at kickoff, which is our biggest inventory. That's when the most people are tuning in and watching the NFL. And we ran it again on several important moments. Even, for example, when we honored John Madden, who really stood for inclusion. We ran it during that moment as well. So it was important for us to run not only that ad, but all of our campaigns throughout the year, so that our, advocacy for this community was not only during the month of June. It was really a year-round effort and conversation, and that to some degree that it would begin to sort of make it just more normalized, right? Because I was also, when I saw the reaction to a lot of this, I'm like, what? Why? Why are they behaving that way? And the more you talk about it, the more you're out there, the less you get that kind of reaction. So I think it's important for us, the consistency and constancy is got to be part of our strategy.
That's a good point. And I think, it was echoed all throughout the day that there's too much rainbow washing. You just change a logo, and then come July 1st, change your entire strategy to the next thing. So it's nice to hear you echo that. I think one of the other ways, and specifically to you, Jonathan, you've helmed diversity, equity, inclusion in a number of different companies. We'd love to hear about what's different at the NFL. What are you guys doing? What is year round? What is, especially change from within?
Yeah, thanks for that. It is very, working for the National Football League is a very, very different scenario from a traditional company, even a non-traditional company. One thing that people tend to not realize is essentially we're a trade association. We have 33 separate entities, which would be the league offices are 3 offices, and then all 32 clubs. They are separate organizations, run 100% separately. However, we are all bonded by the shield and what we call the National Football League. We are bonded by the game, which essentially makes the club owners almost like the shareholders at the same time. However, at the league office, and the commissioner and the rest of the league office also are responsible for policies and overseeing the protection of the game. And so it's a really weird dynamic. I don't think outside of sports, I don't know if there is any other organization that is anything similar to it. So with that said, it's a little, you have to be really creative and innovative and really into collaboration and connecting to ensure that you're able to move things forward. You can't just throw something out there and say, all right, everybody else fall in line. The commissioner can't just make a statement and everybody just falls in line. There's a vote. All the club owners, the majority of them have to approve it. And the other aspect of it is, while he is kind of like at the league office responsible for ensuring that the game is protected, these are also his bosses. These are all our bosses. But we all take it very seriously, and I think all the clubs understand that we as a collective group have a responsibility, and what that responsibility is to create a vision and strategy, whether it's sales, whether it's DEI, regardless of the various different areas of our business, and we have to operate as a collective. So that's kind of how we operate and why it's such a challenge to get things done, but it can be done. And it just takes courage, and it takes a lot of collaboration, and you have to have a clear purpose that other people are willing to come on board and join you.
And, the dialogue that Jonathan's talking about, I think, has been the key to getting us to a better place, right? Like we sit with committees, we sit with owners, sometimes one-on-one, because of course there's some of the owners who are more influential with the rest of the group than others. And so we get a sort of alignment on some of these key issues, and we move ahead. And to be honest, I just show them the data, right? I show them how fans respond to a lot of these things, which some are calling controversial. And I show them how it's furthering our ability to bring in new fans, right? Like if you can imagine when people see that they're recognized and that you're welcoming them in, they're going to become fans. So we've grown our fan base. We've grown our fan base through younger audiences, through Latino audiences, through female audiences. and through some of our more diverse audiences, including the LGBTQT+. In fact, we have the biggest audience. We have more LGBTQT+ members than any other sports league, and we're very proud of that. Now, we don't have enough, but we have more than any other league, and I think one of the reasons that they feel more comfortable is because of the way that we're behaving. We haven't always been at our best, but you always got to start from where you are, right? And I think that's helping us bring people closer to the league.
Great.
Well,
Well,
we
we
have
have
Damien here, right? I think
Yeah.
I saw that. There he
We'll
is, yeah.
bring Damien in just in time for Q&A.
72andSunny, right, for Q&A.
Yeah. So obviously, last session of the day, but we wanted to open up for questions. So,
Forget about all those terrible things I said about 72andSunny. They were actually really good.
Nice to us, Tim.
No.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you so much for presenting. I think very inspiring to see such an institution in American culture kind of trying to change. I think and totally understand the barrier and how complex your organization and system is with the teams, with the owners, etc. I think what I'm interested to know about is, obviously, he came out, that player. Have you seen more players come out at different level of the game? I'm not talking only NFL, but also college football earlier. I think, and then my second part of my question is, what do you guys do to kind of foster a more inclusive and safer space for kids and kids that grow up into football and love football? Because I feel like there is still a lot of moment where they wouldn't come out throughout their life, and for him to come out that late, I think it's also having a closer look at why it took him so long within football to come out. And so I'm interested in how you guys are also influencing the root cause of closeted LGBTQ people in football.
Thanks for that question, and it's a really good one. It's one we think about a lot. So what's happened since Carl Nassib came out? What has been interesting, unfortunately, we have not had another active player come out yet. I firmly believe that will be happening quite soon. What we have seen is we are finally getting former players that came out after their NFL career that is starting to get a little more recognition. There would be no Carl Nassib without Jeff Rohr, without Ryan O'Callahan, without R.K. Russell, without Ware, without so many others. I think we have 12 former players that have come out. Did I say Michael Sam?
You did not.
Michael Sam. So that is, I think that's a critical part. What we have seen is we've seen a lot more employees coming out. We have seen more staff on the coaching side coming out that I've had conversations with personally. And we have also seen, I don't know if you read about it, but we have our first transgender cheerleader with I think Carolina Top Cats, but it's the Carolina Panthers. And that's great. We still have so far to go. But that is progress, and that shows that we're moving in the right direction. And it's about changing the culture. And culture's changed by the work that 72andSunny and Tim and his team did. It's making sure that everybody, internally and externally, understands where we stand and understands that we are welcoming the LGBTQ community into the NFL, whether as a fan, a player, or as an employee. We still have a ways to go, though. I'll be the first to admit that.
I think we have time for one more.
Sure. Just a related question, actually. Tremendous progress has been made. I'm a big fan. I watch football. I love it. I'm just wondering what you think the likelihood is of a trans player ever being in the NFL. How that would ever work.
I think it's possible. There's no question about it. I also think that it's definitely quite possible that we could actually see a woman player as well. So I think the game is evolving, and those that play it are evolving. And just go back to youth as well. We focus on youth a lot. We want to, and also making sure that the messaging that we're talking about right now is also received by the youth, and whether they're playing flag football, tackle football, whatever it is, or they're just fans, we want that. But I do believe that we will see players, and we're going to see a lot more diversity, and not just diversity around race and gender in terms of actual players and fans at the National Football League.
And we support the gay flag football organization as well, which is really important. I mean, the future of the NFL is in part dependent upon participation amongst young people, yeah? And younger folks, and we all know this in the room, some of them are not comfortable playing tackle, right? And what's great about that is it just opens up the sport to just many more young people. And to see the NFL backing that organization is important. It's influential and it's very important. And other kids see it and they feel safe, right? I know we're gonna end here, but Damian hasn't had a chance to say anything. Yeah. And he flew all the way out here from California. They're a tremendous partner of ours. I will say this, and they were also, when I talked about my Activision days, they were our advertising agency there as well. Why? Because they did fantastic work. I believed in them. We had a tremendous amount of respect. When they give me something, I know they mean it. It's in their heart. They don't give it to me because they think I'll like it. They give it to me because they know that it's the right thing to do. And so we have a strong level of trust and respect for each other, and we help each other be better. So I wanted to make sure Damian had a chance here.
Well, I got one question for you, Damian, and I've been saving it.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Yeah, and it's also a way for me to talk about Comscore for 2 minutes, too. So Comscore's main value proposition is just helping that of targeting and effectiveness in all of media. And that obviously includes targeting, race, ethnicity, gender, LGBTQIA+, all of the above. And I thought a good comment from Janelle at Walmart was also Comscore is starting to also measure, minority and diversity-owned media as well, so we can help all of our marketing partners understand, and be equitable, not just target for the audience. So, Damian, as the member of the agency side up here, what are you guys thinking about? What sources, what methods, what thoughts, what strategy goes into partnerships like that of the Rainbow Dads, or putting together an ad like Football is for Everyone? Floor is yours.
Well, thank you for that. And I want to apologize about being late. The relationship with the NFL started, I think, with one of our executives, the founder, Glenn Cole, running through the streets of New York to deliver the final brief just in time. And it appears that we're keeping that story alive, because I ran from 63rd or something or another down here. Blame the planes, not me. Nevertheless, to your question, I think part of what we do, and we try to be very particular about this, is source and look for partners that actually are bold and creative and willing to move forward on a wide range of issues. And that's one of the reasons why it works so well with Tim and the NFL, because they've proven to be an organization that wants to move forward. And so when you're thinking about, like, how do you define partners and what moves forward in kind of society as a whole, really for us it's about selecting the right types of people to work with, because our orientation as an organization is to help to change culture, to help move the needle, to help do things that resonates in culture. And you can't do that if you're stuck in your laurels and doing things you've always done or saying the things you've always said. And so it's really about finding bold partners and being able to collaborate with them to get it done. These things don't happen in a back room at 72 and then we have a ta-da moment in front of the client. It is a collaborative relationship. And so the one other thing I'll say about in this general conversation is that the decision to have football is for everyone, not the NFL is for everyone, but football in particular is for everyone, didn't just change how people view the NFL. I think it's changed how people, marketers in particular, think about being bold in the marketplace. We deal with a lot of other clients and brands, and regularly people reference the fact that they feel more emboldened more confident in being bold in the things they say in the world because of what they watch the NFL do. Because historically, the NFL has not been that organization. And so to come out in such a bold way around something as important as gender equity and LGBTQ rights is something that I think resonated long far beyond the world of football, but throughout the entire marketplace.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, LVMH. Thank you, BI.
So I just want to say, first of all, thank you. Tim, you mentioned really quickly, you kind of summed up a lot of the work that you've been doing, but I do remember a few years ago there was a number of ads and content that came out all around female viewership and female fandom. I think Alyssa Milano might have been in some of those. Then last year you joined us virtually with a bunch of college students with Glenn. You talked about your work building relationships with Gen Z, with millennials, younger audiences, the Nickelodeon simulcast, which I watched with my kids. I mean, fantastic. Today you're here talking about the LGBTQ relationship and the community that you're building there. And I just spoke with your team, some of the members of your team around some of the Hispanic efforts. And I think that when you put it all together, it's clear these are not one-offs, but there is a consistent track record of building relationships with different communities, and it's not easy. We talked a lot today about some of these things that these efforts come out and they're one-offs and people notice, but when you have consistency, people see it. So kudos, great job, Damien. I love it. Thank you for being here. This is fantastic. So let's give them a big round of applause, please.